Welcome to What's Brewing with IAT Insurance Group, where episode after episode we cover the latest marketplace trends with subject matter experts who are fueling our mission to provide insurance answers together. Grab your cup and let's settle in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of What's Brewing. I'm Michael Puglisi, Underwriting Manager here at IAT for our Aviation unit. I'm thrilled to welcome today's guest, a trusted broker, partner, and friend of mine, Holly Hopkinson. Holly joins us from McGriff, now part of Marsh & McLennan following some industry changes, if I'm correct. And Holly, how you doing this morning? How's your morning treating you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm on my third cup of coffee. Life is not bad.
That's what we need in the aviation industry. Well, with that, let's just jump into segment one of what I thought we would talk about today. It's pretty much industry consolidations and acquisitions. With Marsh & McLennan buying McGriff, you're in the driver's seat for changes at your company and the consolidations that's taking place in our industry. Do you have anything you can kind of like speak about or let us know some challenges that you might be facing or some positive contribution from the merge?
At least for the aviation team, it's been really positive for us. I actually used to work at Marsh back in 2007, and they gave me my employee ID number back.
Wow.
So it's a little like seeing your high school locker combo. It was a little shocking. But yeah, I mean, it's been great. And there's actually some people within the Marsh Aviation team that I knew 20 years ago that I've reconnected with and gotten to kind of talk with them. And they have some tools that I think would be useful for us, and we have some tools that I think would be useful for them. So far, it's been really, really good.
Sweet. How are the clients taking the approach, or I guess the new news?
It's interesting because some clients love it because, especially the ones who have like international exposures, because Marsh is so big. And they really love that we can tap into all these different resources. And other clients, it's like, they're like, oh, well, is it my same people? As long as it's my same people, I don't really care what your name is. So I haven't had, at least for me, I haven't had any negative reaction at all. They just want to be sure that their team's the same and that they still have their trusted people.
Yeah, well said. In our industry, I think relationships is probably one of the most important things that we hold close to ourselves. Well, then I guess we'll jump to the next one. And my next question would be trade shows. I know you are very entwined with the trade shows in our industry, and we've had EAA come up and passed, and then also AIA, which is a great event for brokers in our industry and underwriters. How do you feel with the end of the year coming around? We're already in Q4. We have NBAA and another event we both attended, RACA, out in Scottsdale. How do you see how do you see your team getting prepped and ready for this? And what do you guys do maybe differently than others?
Well, I mean, honestly, what I use NBAA for these days is to set up meetings because I've got my clients, I've got the underwriter community, and I try to make the most of it that we can. I will say I wish it wasn't in Vegas, not because I don't love Vegas, but because it is so hard to get between places for like you have to schedule a significant amount of transit time in Vegas. But I really try to make the most of the time that I'm there because I feel like we all spend a lot of time on the road. And if we can minimize that time by really taking advantage of an area where everybody's together, that's a bonus for all of us. So NBAA, I really don't see a lot. I go meeting to meeting to meeting. Raka's more like chill and relaxed and fun, and we've got a bunch of clients there, and we get take the opportunity to have dinner with our clients and just kind of relax a little bit more. So I really like the smaller trade shows because I do feel like you get that more relaxed environment where you can take the time to just see how people's year was, how their families are doing, that kind of thing, versus jumping from meeting to meeting to meeting.
Yeah. And then I tell my guys, you got to remember where you're at and who we're there to see. You said it perfectly and hit it on the head. Some events are mainly for client facing, and on our side of the world, you guys, the brokers, I say, are our clients, and the insureds are your clients. So we have to go see both, and we have to make sure we understand which one we're going to, or getting ready to visit or see. It really goes a long way when you know what you're selling and who you're selling to. So very well said.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing really to talk about is, I guess, a twofold part. In our industry, or in the world, there's inflation. And in our industry, we're getting a big hit with inflation as respects to rising aircraft values, and also the other end of it, repair cost that comes along with these values. And especially in insurance, we get claims. So the repair of cost for claims is significantly increasing. How do you guys see this on the broker side? And do you have any questions that are asked from insureds that you guys basically get handcuffed with or tied up dealing with it, even though they didn't have a claim?
You know, it's interesting that you bring this up because we just did a talk about this at an Argus convention recently for a bunch of clients. And I think the key is to inform the client, hey, you're seeing these aircraft values go up. Therefore, you're seeing yourself have to raise them on your insurance, and you're seeing the cost of your insurance go up a bit. But also, it's going to affect you from a claim standpoint. So that $60,000 repair might now be $160,000. The other thing we're seeing is like long lead times. We've still got a really long lead time to get that repair work done. And we're seeing increased pay for mechanics because there's a huge labor shortage. So when you combine the increased cost of the actual part, the long lag time, and then the increased pay for any sort of technician or mechanic, all of those costs are just skyrocketing. And I was talking to a market maybe 3 weeks ago, and they were telling me that a repair that used to be, you know, let's say $100,000 is now 250% of that, just because it has to go to Canada, it has to come back. The other issue that we're seeing is almost like a preemptive tariff, where as soon as tariffs were announced, we started seeing our clients get repair costs that had tariff line items on them. And so we'd have to go and we'd have to ask, and the carriers would have to ask, was this really paid, or is this preemptive because you know there's a tariff coming? And we were successful getting some of those tariff line items removed because they hadn't actually paid a tariff. They were just hearing that one was coming about. So I think it's really on us to pay attention to all of that as everything's changing and all of these tariffs change, and make sure that our clients aren't getting unfairly penalized for something that wasn't actually paid.
Yeah, it's the head of claims here at IAT, keeps us very informed. I think you're very familiar with Jessica, but she's good at doing so. And it's crazy to hear the numbers that are being tossed across the table. I mean, it's just outrageous.
It
It's kind
is.
of changes a lot of business owners.
Yeah,
Business owners
because
get
because
scared.
it affects their premiums. Yeah, and long run, that claim that would have been $250,000 is suddenly $500,000, and the clients are going, why? And unless you keep your client informed, they're going to assume that it's you or me that's somehow jacking this price up for no apparent reason. And so it's really important to stay in front of it and give them like the heads up on what we're seeing overall industry wide on claims and increased costs and composite materials, labor shortages, all of that, so that they're aware of why this is happening before it comes across their desk.
Yeah, that's really good. And then it ties into the increased whole values. I mean, at IAT, we recently just expand our capacity. So
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's
Yes,
excited about
congratulations.
that here. And thank you. We can now write up to 10 mil whole and 50 million liability, as well as introduce our new industrial aid policy and allowing us to be more competitive with our competition. It's just crazy to see that, a 172, which is a very good aircraft to use on a flight school, and in flight schools, that's where you learn to fly, was back in the day, or say a couple years ago, maybe $100,000, $75,000. Now, new ones are going for 500,000, 700,000. And back in when you were thinking piston, you would never think over $1 million. And now Cirrus has got one that's 1.2 million. So it's just crazy. The times are changing, and even up to the bigger equipment. I mean, PC-12s and jets and stuff like that were millions of dollars cheaper 2 years ago, and now they're astronomically more. And providing, there is more capacity, but it's very hard to, I guess, subject to it insured. Hey, your premium's going up, but your value went up as well. And they need to make sure they're not underinsured. So that's definitely a big thing for us to do to make sure that the client is well represented on both ends.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that that raise and limit will allow you guys to be more competitive on a 100% basis, but also on a quota share basis. Because obviously you don't want to deploy your entire capacity for a quota share line. And now you don't have to, and you have more opportunities to come on to some of the larger placements.
Yeah. Family is more.
Yeah. To your point about hull values, we had a client that was pricing out a Sky Courier before they even came on the market. And he, initially came to us with one hull value, and then 3 months later, it was up $500,000, and then 6 months later, it was up $1 million. And it's because there was such a big demand for them, and the market was increasing so rapidly that by the time he actually got the Sky Courier, it was worth a couple million more than when he had initially thought.
Wow.
And that affects their budgeting. That affects, I mean, in this case, this guy had a parent company to report to, and he had told them it was going to be XYZ cost, and all of a sudden it's a lot more. And so it affects all across how much money they can make, what they need to charge to use that Sky Courier. So it's something everybody has to be aware of. It impacts not just insurance.
Yeah. Well said. I guess changing it or shifting gears a bit from the broker side, how do you guys, I guess, facilitate and manage, the insured's expectations with all this capacity that becomes available and the rates that are shifting? I mean, a couple years ago, or I should say, 10 years ago, we were in a soft market, a long soft market. And I think you're very familiar with what the time I'm speaking of, and with that time frame, people were scared. And then all of a sudden you know, gained rate, started obtaining some rate here. And then now more capacity is filled into the market. And it seems like rates are dropping a little bit and they're going pretty quickly. So we try to position ourselves in a position to come out on top. How do you guys control the conversations with clients that hear from their friends, I guess you would say? I got this decrease, I got this rate, I got this. How do you control when every risk is different? And in the insurance world for aviation, we view everybody individually.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that it's my clients that are telling other clients that they got that huge rate decrease and then they're coming back to me. Like, that's great. Um, no, seriously though, we are all about relationships. And, I think that as you get farther away from the really quick hardening of the market in 2019, 2020, clients kind of start to forget how many markets left and how how we had to take things quota share that were previously placed 100% and how we had to kind of restructure things for markets pulling out very quickly overnight. And I think it's important to remind them of who has supported them and why, and to be careful and cognizant of not bringing on capacity just to reduce premium by a significant percent, but to bring on capacity that's really going to support that area. And that becomes really important in certain operating environments like Hawaii and Alaska that are more challenging to write in, because those are generally the places where the capacity goes away first. So I think having that conversation preemptively with your client and really letting them know, but ultimately it's on the client to decide, what kind of buyer they want to be. But I think it's really critical that we remind them, hey, when the market hardens, these are your friends. Like, you want to make sure that you keep your friends. And I was really fortunate in the hard market. A lot of policies came to us where they were previously placed 100% with one carrier at really high limits because the market was so soft it could support that. And when the market hardened overnight, they suddenly couldn't do that anymore. They couldn't write these 100% placements. And that's been great for me as a quota share broker because I'm able to go out and say, okay, we're going to split this up. We're going to introduce you to new markets, make a lot of friends. And then if the market hardens again, we have these relationships to count on. And the cool thing about clients making these relationships is they follow them across companies. So, if my client's relationship is with you, Pugs, and you came from somewhere else, you came to IAT, and then that relationship followed you to IAT. So I think that's really important, is to kind of preemptively tell your clients this is how you want to play this game.
Yeah, again, all back to relationship. I as an underwriter, I'm curious with the quota share play and say $1 million accounts, do brokers tend to view the AM best rating at all when they're looking at a carrier to be placed on the risk? Does that really come into play with the broker side of things?
It does, in that we all have minimum standards. So, like, Marsh, for example, we can't place anything with anyone rated A-8 or lower. So that is really important to us. So we're looking for really strong capacity that can withstand a hit. And we've seen a few hits this year. So
Yeah, it's been a interesting 2025. I think a lot of the noise comes from the airline industry, as if we would say. It's a lot more news oriented. The
it's
news are
clickbait.
much more insight and trying to report about stuff like that. It gets the masses way quicker. So I think we've seen a lot of stuff in the airlines. It's making it very more known to the average in aviation person than someone that's a professional in our industry.
Yeah. And our buying group is so small in aviation compared to property or auto or something like that, that those airline losses are important to watch, because eventually they do trickle down to GA, and GA ends up kind of paying for the sins of its brothers, because GA is a large buying pool. So we'll see.
Well said.
It's a good thing to keep an eye on.
Yeah, so keep that GA up.
That is not what I said, Pugs. That is not what I said.
Deductibles up, rates up, commission down.
Fired.
I won't be having many friends that way, I'll tell you that.
No, you won't.
My relationships would go bye-bye. But I guess just to wrap everything up, I thank you so much again. To wrap things up, I'd love to hear your personal take. What is it makes you love working in the aviation industry and doing the things that we do and get to do on a daily basis?
I have been so fortunate to have some crazy experiences that I would have never had if I hadn't had this job. Just meeting some of the coolest people, getting to go through operations. At one point, I got to see NASA's zero gravity pool where the astronauts train. And there's like a model of the International Space Station in this pool, and they send the astronauts in to preemptively try fixes that they're then going to implement up in space. Who gets to see this stuff?
Yeah, that's something you don't see in car dealerships or storage facilities.
No, and so I feel very blessed and honored to get to be part of this. Like, this is the coolest industry. I don't think it's funny, because I don't know about you, but when I tell people what I do for a living, especially in the small town that I live in, they're like, "That's a job?" I'm like, "Yes, it is. It is. We work hard."
Exactly.
But
well, it's funny when you say insurance, people are like, well, okay. And then you say the one word in front of it, aviation insurance, and they're mind blown.
Oh,
it's
completely.
Like, oh, aviation needed insurance?
Yeah. They've never thought of
just
it.
like your car.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess that was the last question. So just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time today to join us on What's Brewing here at IAT. We're very happy to have this and honored to have you as a first broker join us for our podcast. So we thank you so much, and we wish you the best rest of your week.
Thanks, Pugs, and thanks for inviting me. It was very nice of you.
We'll see you soon.
Providing insurance answers together is what we do best. Thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of What's Brewing. Until next time.